All right, we are back at it once again. Today, I flipped the cab as you saw, and we're going to start addressing some of the things that was hard to get to with what we did in the last video. Kind of clean up that back seam there, clean up the back of the mounts there, and just kind of see what all needs addressed there. Take care of that, then we're going to flip it back, clean it up, and get the sealing it up. So, let's get started. Areas of concern, not really concern, areas of interest, I guess is a better way to look. This here seam, where we jointed that was hard to get to. I knew I was going to come back and clean it up now, so clean that up. I'm probably going to try and weld all that seam together. This needs to come off. This is part of the old cab mount. That needs to go. And then finally we need to cut this seam to match and weld that closed. Other than that, just general dress up, clean up, welds kind of thing there. Over here on this side, same stuff for the most part, except here this piece is up. That's got that little bit of a gap there. So close that gap up and then, cut that down. Weld that all in, clean that edge up. That's pretty much what we're doing. I'm going to start on this side first because it's less stuff to do. We're going to cut all that stuff out of the way first and just kind of weld everything back in. This side's pretty straightforward. It's a good thing to stretch out on. So. Well, this turned out pretty good. I'm just going to weld that seam. That's pretty good right there. This, however, once we've cut that back now, I just butted that up against it the best I could and welded kind of up above this, but now we've cut that off. That looks pretty horrendous. See if I can't beat that around and maybe make that a little better looking. And then the other thing we need to do is address that seam, and I think I'm just going to weld right across all those, kind of pull all that together, and then I think this side's a wrap. Okay, I don't know that a bunch of booger welds on there helped it. Well, it did a little. We did close up that gap. That does improve the look of it. This seam right through here, that turned out pretty good because that was new sheet metal and new sheet metal. Where this was all layered up, there was a lot of rust in that pinch seam there. So that was real flaky kind of welding, so that really turned out kind of poor. But yeah, you're not going to see that. But cleaned up the rest of that, got all that closed up. So other than grinding that up, cleaning that up, for when we fix that, that's pretty much it on that side. So let's move to that side. over here we got the same thing where that was a funky shape, so beat that down with a hammer. I'm going to weld that seam right across there, weld that there. We do have a small gap here from where I made that piece there. I didn't realize that that came up like it did, so we'll have to patch that a little bit in there and then pinch this closed and weld that. So not too bad. Now that we got everything welded in on both sides, I'm just going to hit this with a brush, take a look and see what this is really looking like. I can probably live with the welds, you know, just seeing them across this seam. This here, obviously I want to address something because that is the body, but this here's underneath, you're not going to see it. Looking across everything, it all looks pretty good. This up here will get body worked. This down here, just going to leave it as it is. I hit the high points of the welds, but all in all, that's not horrendous looking, and it's underneath. It's structural. We're not really too concerned. Went ahead and cleaned up the back of the cab where we tunneled through. That looks pretty good. And same thing on this side as that side, you know. Going to just leave those, hit the high points. This will get body worked. I am going to go ahead and hit this with some black, just because when I do the underside of the floor, that's probably going to be something heavy brushed on, something like that. Then once we put the cab down and I body work this, it is going to be on the frame, so that'll be really hard to get to. Right now it's going to be a really good time to get in there and really get something on it. I'm not overly concerned. This is a pretty rust bucket anyways, but it is bare metal, so let's get something on it. There it is, all blacked out. All that work is hardly noticeable now. I mean, if you're looking, you see it, but it's not like it was whenever it was just bare metal. So, well, that's going to do it for today. That all turned out pretty good. We still got some more work to do around there when we do get to the body work of it, because my goal is to recreate everything that's happened to this truck. This was a factory black truck, so with that being black like that, that's a good start, because I know when this was painted green, they didn't pull the cab to paint it green. So the fact that that underneath will still have kind of a bleed over of black will be good. Plus we got paint in there where it would have been hard to get paint. So moving on, we will do body work and replicate that finish, try and blend it to where you can't really tell. But that's on down the road. Next week, I'm going to go and try and clean up the underside of the cab with getting all the rust, debris, things of that nature off, and really get it cleaned up with some acid. And then after that, we'll start the seam sealing and then the sealant itself. With sealing it, I've been kind of looking around and want to know what you guys think. Pour 15. That's what everybody's telling me to use. I see there's Pour 15 and then Eastwood has something that looks comparable. Tell me what you guys have used, what you've had success. I'd like to hear your feedback. We'll keep moving on. I'll see you next week.